Tonight in the program, we look at this year's predictions for Thailand's GDP and what are the main factors in stimulating economic recovery post-pandemic. We have a special interview with the first female CEO of a major bank on female leadership in Thailand's banking sector. Then we explore the art of destruction. สวัสดีค่ะ I'm Nabunag and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. Since the COVID-19 situation around the world is steadily improving, most of the sectors from tourism, exports, and other business activities are returning to normal. Because of this, several financial institutions have hopes that Thailand's economy will eventually improve. Most financial institutions are somewhat optimistic about Thailand's economic recovery over the rest of the year due to the improving COVID-19 situation, as well as the recovery in tourism and services, which will help improve the country's economic outlook. However, there are also expressing concerns related to the global economic situation due to the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which has resulted in increases in oil and energy prices, as well as the shortage of commodities, including inflation. If we look into the figures, the Joint Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Banking has revised its GDP growth forecast for this year to at least 2.75%, while the Bank of Thailand's Monetary Policy Committee also revised its GDP forecast to 3.3%. SEB's Economic Intelligence Center revised its forecast for Thailand's GDP to 2.9%. At the same time, the Kasikorn Research Center also revised its GDP forecast to 2.9% as well. However, TTB Analytics have revised their GDP forecast from 3% to only 2.8% due to concerns over the global economic recession, the war in Ukraine, and inflation. Similarly, the Center for Economic and Business Forecasting of the University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce also revised its forecast from 4.2% to just 3.1%. As for tourism in Thailand, many financial institutions seem to be positive as the sector will significantly help the Thai economy. The Joint Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Banking expects that there will be at least 6 to 8 million visitors this year. SCB's Economic Intelligence Center predicts 7.4 million visitors. Kasikorn Research Center forecasts 7.2 million, while TTB Analytics predict that there will be 4.5 million visitors entering the country this year. On the subject, an expert believes that the estimations of GDP growth for this year are quite reasonable considering the recovery in tourism, exports, and investments, which will help improve the Thai economy. Regarding the GDP forecast by various financial institutions, Dr. Somchai Phakapaviwat believes that Thailand's GDP could grow by up to 3% and possibly higher. Therefore, such predictions are quite reasonable. As he explains, aside from the post-pandemic recovery, the three obvious factors that may stimulate the economy are increasing exports, tourism, and investment, both from the public and private sectors. Particularly on exports, it is believed that it will increase by 8 to 10% this year, adding that last year, exports increased by 17%, which was much higher than expected.
ผมคิดว่าข้อแรกเลยตัวที่เป็นกระตุ้นเศรษฐกิจไทยส่งออกปีที่แล้วเนี่ยบวก 17% สูงกว่าที่หลายคนคาดไว้เยอะแยะเลยครับนะครับปีนี้ก็มีการคาดไว้ต่ำมากแต่เอาเข้าจริงๆคุณลองสังเกตดูนะฮะ4 เดือนเนี่ยประมาณ 10% เดือนเมษาเดือนเดียว 9.9 เพราะฉะนั้นทั้งปีเนี่ยนะครับผมก็คิดว่าอัตราการเติบโตของเศรษฐกิจโดยเฉพาะส่งออกเนี่ยน่าจะถึง 8-10% นั่นคือประการแรกครับตัวที่2ที่จะเป็นกระตุ้นตัวนี้ค่อนข้างจะเรียกว่าค่อนข้างจะมีความมั่นใจก็คือเรื่องของการท่องเที่ยวประเทศต่างๆเนี่ยเริ่มคลายล็อกดาวน์ประเทศเราก็คลายล็อกดาวน์ตัวเลขของปีที่แล้วเนี่ยจาก40 ล้านคนก่อนโควิดนะครับเหลือ 500,000 คนปีนี้เนี่ยนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นตอนนี้ผมก็คิดว่าตัวเลขของนักท่องเที่ยวนะฮะต่างประเทศเนี่ยผมเชื่อว่าปีนี้น่าจะถึง10 ล้านคนด้วยซ้ำครับพอการฟื้นตัวจากการส่งออก เรื่องพวกนี้นะครับแล้วก็เรื่องของการลงทุนของภาครัฐก็ยังใช้ได้อยู่นะครับเพราะการลงทุนเอกชนเพิ่มบ้างบริโภคเอกชนดีขึ้นบ้างเพราะผมคิดว่าในปีนี้จะทำให้ตัวเศรษฐกิจไทยเนี่ยขยายตัวได้ถึงประมาณ 3% หรือ 3% กว่าครับ
Now let's have a look at some of the other sectors. Bangkok is actually very famous internationally for its nightlife entertainment. With the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions, this business is also bound to recover. Thai PBS World recently talked to the owner of a long-standing pub and bar restaurant in Bangkok about how his business is actually improving.
When Thailand was heavily affected by the coronavirus outbreak, this entertainment venue closed for nearly 1.5 years due to the stringent COVID-19 measures. Earlier this year, it reopened with some restrictions, and since July the 1st, it has been allowed to open until 2 o'clock, just like before the pandemic.
จำนวนลูกค้าค่ะมันดีขึ้นไหมคะมันประมาณเท่าไหร่
ดีขึ้นเรื่อยๆครับมีอยู่2ส่วนแรกเนี่ยช่วงแรกๆลูกค้าจะยังไม่ทราบว่าเปิดแล้วหลายๆคนเข้าใจว่าทอยปิดไปแล้วครับกับอีกส่วนหนึ่งน่าจะเป็นในเรื่องของสถานการณ์ของโควิดมันผ่อนคลายตอนนี้ก็เลิกยกเลิกการตรวจ ATK ไปแล้วก็ทำให้ลูกค้าเพิ่มขึ้นมาเรื่อยๆถ้าเทียบกับช่วงโควิดต้องบอกว่าฟื้นตัวฮะอาจจะยังไม่เต็มที่แต่ฟื้นตัวขึ้นเรื่อยๆครับ
ประมาณกี่เปอร์เซ็นต์คะ
เกิน 50% ครับอยู่ประมาณ 51
During the business closure, Kamon still had to pay rent every month. He said that the landlord agreed to reduce the rent, as he totally understood the difficulty of the situation. Kamon never received any help from the government. Even having spent a large amount of money to preserve his business, he's still in high spirits. When asked how he feels about Thailand entering the post-COVID stage, he had a smile on his face.
รู้สึกดีกว่าเดิมเยอะครับรู้สึกโพสิทีฟแล้วก็มั่นใจว่ามันจะไปได้ดีขึ้นเรื่อยๆคนก็จะได้กลับมาใช้ชีวิตปกติเหมือนเดิมแล้วก็น่าจะมีความสุขมากขึ้นเรื่อยๆครับ
During the COVID-19 crisis, the nightlife sector was hit harder than other businesses. Before the pandemic, this tourism-related sector had a worldwide reputation for its unique vibe and various kinds of entertainment and places from which to choose. These nightclubs and bars generated more than $5.5 billion a year for the overall economy. Kamon urges the government to look after the nightlife sector, as well as its workforce, because it is one of the essential sectors that drive the country's economy.
ธุรกิจบันเทิงเนี่ยผมมองว่าเป็นธุรกิจที่สำคัญธุรกิจหนึ่งนะครับมันควบคู่กับธุรกิจการท่องเที่ยวฉะนั้นมันสร้างรายได้กับประเทศหลายแสนล้านเลยเอาธุรกิจจัดอีเวนต์คอนเสิร์ตที่เกี่ยวข้องกับดนตรีทั้งหลายฮะงานคอนเสิร์ตใหญ่ๆงานพวกนี้เกิดไม่ได้เลยทั้งที่งานพวกนี้เนี่ยสร้างรายได้กับประเทศมหาศาลในแต่ละปีรวมถึงสร้างเงินหมุนเวียนในประเทศด้วยอยากให้รัฐเล็งเห็นตรงนี้อาจจะเป็นจุดเริ่มของสิ่งเหล่านั้นละฮะ
Now let's talk about medical services in Thailand. Before COVID-19, medical services in Thailand attracted millions of people from around the world. Thailand's medical services are not only known for its high quality, but also for hospitality. But how has the pandemic changed Thailand's medical services for the better? Let's find out more with Thalalat Janwanpin.
Before COVID-19, Bangkok's MedConsult had already been around for over 12 years. Owned by a British physician, Donna Robinson, it was one of the places on which expats and tourists could count when they needed medical attention.
We have patients, general practice for medicines, common problems like back pain, high cholesterol, depression. We have like doctors on motorbikes visiting patients in hotels in Khao San Road, where else? Or even the top 5-star hotels. So many different kinds of tourists. but they like the hotel visit.
The absence of tourists in the past 2 years has led to a dramatic drop in demand for such services. On the other hand, there has been more demand for COVID testing. So, unlike other businesses disrupted by the new normal, English-speaking medical clinics found a new opportunity in the changing situation.
COVID made us narrow down to survival mode. And then last year we started to do COVID testing. And, you know, somehow the staff just made it boom, boom, boom. So like a, just like a production line. But the patients, the people, the clients really like it. And then the staff also, one staff worked at the airport. So they're actually the staff, and one was a stewardess. So they're interested in travel too, and they're also were interested in the regulations. And they've become like experts on the COVID for what country needs what.
For MedConsult, income increased considerably during the pandemic. The clinic grew very rapidly and had to hire more people. The staff grew over tenfold from 6 to 70. Now, the clinic faces a different challenge.
We just had to call in people non-stop. Can you answer the phone? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you get their results to them? Can you do this? But then sometimes we're inundated by so many people who do want the tests. Even sometimes it could be for a sports game. But that's happening less and less. So a lot of change. There's a lot of stress. And we don't want to get rid of all these employees.
Thailand is close to reclassifying COVID-19 as an endemic disease. The clinic again found itself adapting to change.
We've now got managers who are working for us and accountable and responsible. So we are probably downsizing, because if we were doing 1,000 COVID tests some days, and now we're doing 400, but we're doing the other services too. And now we see there's so many opportunities in Bangkok. So all the systems we had in place 2 years ago, visiting people in hotels, first aid kits, trainings, flu vaccines for companies, we've got to get back to that and change again or grow. We hope we can grow.
Shalal Lakdanwanpin reporting for Thai PBS World.
And we can see that many of the sectors are actually improving after the easing of COVID-19 restrictions. And now let's have a look at the other stories in our weekly roundup.
As Thailand struggles to enter a post-pandemic period, an average of 29,000 people in Thailand have caught COVID-19 every day since June 25th, bringing the accumulated total of COVID outpatients to over 207,000, according to the CCSA. Infections are tending to reduce in 54 provinces, but in the other 23, including Bangkok, the rate rises in small waves. New infections may peak in September and stabilize in November. The CCSA has also decided to extend the state of emergency by 2 months until the end of September. This is the 19th extension since March 2020. Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met earlier this week in Bangkok to discuss trade, economic cooperation, investment and greater connectivity between the two countries under the all-round strategic partnership framework. Wang Yi is on a 5-nation diplomatic tour of Southeast Asia. Myanmar was his first stop. He's also scheduled to be Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam, and also attending the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in Bali, Indonesia. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will pay his first official visit to Thailand this weekend and will meet the Thai Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, the Department of Disease Control Emergency Operations Center, and the Welfare Protection Center for Victims of Trafficking to advance Thai-U.S. cooperation in public health and combating of human trafficking. His first stop is in Bali to attend the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting, where he's set to reinforce the U.S. positions on global challenges, including food and energy insecurity, and the threats posed to the international order by Russia's continued war in Ukraine. The Thai cabinet has decided to extend the stay in Thailand of migrant workers from Myanmar, Cambodia, the Lao PDR, and Vietnam until February 13th of 2025 to address labor shortages in the industrial and service sectors. Documented workers from these countries, estimated about 1.69 million people, are required to apply for an extension before their work permits expire. For undocumented ones, the employers must apply for work permits for them. Smuggling of migrant workers remains rampant, with a number of trafficking gangs being caught almost daily.
And in this special episode of Empowering Thai Women, we'll still be talking to female CEOs at the Global Summit of Women in Thailand. This week, we talked to Kattiya Intarawichai, who's the very first female leader of KeyBank, as she will be talking about how she proved herself along the way, as well as the increasing female leadership in Thailand's banking sector. So first of all, what sort of changes have you seen in Thailand's banking industry, especially in terms of female leadership?
I think we can see the number and in terms of proportion of female leadership, both in senior management and in the board of director level, have been increased every year. So for example, in KBank, we have, in terms of staff, we have 70% female. And at the level of senior management, we have 47, at the female at the senior level. And this year, 44% female board of director. Yeah, so I think the number have been increasingly. However, in Thailand, the average number of female and male, I think is not the issue. But what we should focus more perhaps is gender equality, so not only the female and male, but all kind of gender, that we should give them the same opportunity for them to show whether they be able to perform.
Since you became the CEO, what has been the biggest challenge in terms of promoting more female leaders within the same company?
As a leader, I think what we have to do is to give equal opportunity to everyone. Whoever you are, they will get the same opportunity, and then it's their job, to perform, to prove that, whether they can discover themselves and, challenge their boundary and deliver different results. So that's, as a leader, that's a challenge.
As the very first female CEO of a leading banking company in Thailand, how did you manage to overcome the struggles or even the perceptions that people had against you?
I think, when you are in business, what you have to do is to deliver performance to all the stakeholders, especially shareholders and community or regulators. So it's all go to the performance. So I think it's the way that you try to deliver the best result that you can do, and having everyone as a team to help you or to support each other to deliver it.
How can we ensure more gender equality and equal opportunities, especially in the banking industry?
I think I have to start with myself. So it's a great opportunity that I was appointed to be the CEO, the first CEO, female CEO, and the first non-family also. So it's a burden, for the leader like I to show that when I got the opportunity, I have to prove that the non-family, the female one, be able to deliver the same result or even exceed their expectation. And when I prove that, that means that, you know, people will look at me and then they will say like, oh, this quality, this character can be delivered result no less than any others.
How hard has it been for you to prove yourself that you're capable of being a female CEO?
I think what I did is that I enjoy working, and I enjoy seeing success, you know, and I celebrate success along the way together with the team, you know. So I think I have to show that, you know, I work well with everyone. Because, you know, in banking industry, you have to work as a cross-functional team. You know, you have IT, legal, business, product, risk management. So we have to work well, you know, to optimize the target and deliver it to customers. If you want to grow in the next level, you have to prove that you work well with others and deliver beyond expectation.
What sort of changes do you want to see, especially after the Global Summit of Women?
I think after the Global Summit of Women, I think the delegates, you know, who participate in the meeting room, they will see that, oh, there's a lot of powerful and women, and they create a huge impact. I hope that this event it's inspire, you know, ladies all around the world, and then they go back to their company, their country, and they try to create impact to, you know, herself and the community or the country or this world.
And now let's take you to this art exhibition where Gitipat Chisukjit will explore the art of destruction that is called Morphogenesis.
Broken glass can be turned into something very beautiful. It's just a matter of how you handle it. So today, Walk-A-Tif will take you to see the urban contemporary art scene crafted using form of morphogenesis or complex mosaic. With the fascination for faces, a contemporary glass artist, Simon Berger, explores the material which he hammers, scratches, cracks, and engraves into portraits that play with light and transparency, attracting the gaze into meander of lesions that he calls morphogenesis. Trained as a carpenter and with a passion for mechanics, wood and scrap metal inspired his first pieces created from the streets. His unique technique was born of his artistic explorations using car windscreens. As a pioneer of this technique, Simon has become one of the most talked about and collected artists in the urban contemporary art scene. His first work was created in 2016.
Also, Kunst mache ich schon seit 13 Jahren und bin immer bestrebt gewesen, etwas Neues zu finden. Ich habe immer eigentlich Sachen gemacht, die es so noch nicht gerade gibt. Und mit dem Glas ist mir wirklich das ein bisschen gelungen, was ich lange gesucht habe. Das war im 2016 das erste. Genau. Ja, genau. Im Endeffekt habe ich hier Pionierarbeit geleistet. Und das ist eigentlich dazu gekommen, weil ich einfach unzufrieden war mit den Erfolgen, die ich hatte. Und ich weiss noch genau, wo ich so wirklich ein bisschen hässig war auf mich selber und in mich reingegangen bin und dachte, was kann ich noch machen? Und in der persönlichen, ich sage dem jetzt mal persönliche Not, ist mir die Idee gekommen von dieser Technik. Einfach Theorie, und ich dachte, das werde ich also unbedingt probieren, ob das so möglich ist. Und voilà, es ist schnell gegangen und hat es vorher noch niemand gemacht, hat mich noch erstaunt.
Simon said he doesn't remember who the first portrait was, as mostly he uses anonymous people, which leaves him some room for his own interpretations and interventions.
Also die Porträts hier sind unbekannte Schönheiten. Das, was ich als schön verstehe, muss man vielleicht so dazu sagen. Und hier habe ich zuerst mal eigentlich auch asiatische Schönheiten abbildet und gemerkt, dass das auch sehr, sehr gut eignet. Und ja, bin sehr glücklich mit der Ausstellung. Und je länger, je mehr mache ich Fotoshootings mit so schönen Wesen. Und das hat natürlich für mich noch ganz andere Kraft, weil die ganze Geschichte dahinter ist, wie man mit dem Menschen auch lacht und das Shooting macht. Und ich kann auch das Licht genau so einstellen, wie ich das eben gerne will. Also es irgendwie verstärkt es einfach die ganze Geschichte.
On the way, Simon's projects became bigger and more exciting. The biggest achievement for him, he said, was the portrait of Kamala Harris.
Das Werk, das am meisten bewegt hat eigentlich in ihrer Karriere und schuld ist für ganz vieles, was eigentlich passiert ist die Anfrage aus Washington für das Porträt von Kamala Harris. Ich finde zwar, ja schon viel bessere Werke gemacht, aber das hat so eine Reichweite gehabt und genau aus dem hat sich das andere ergeben.
Simon said the most beautiful thing that can happen is when his works bring pleasure, not only at an exhibition, but providing pleasure every day in someone's house. If you would like to explore Morphogenesis artwork with your own eyes, over 30 unique works are showcased at Warehouse 30 in the Tarankung Creative District of Bangkok until the end of July. Kittipat Chilsuktit, reporting for Thai PBS World.
And that wraps up tonight's edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10:30 p.m. only on Thai PBS. And don't forget to follow us on social media, including our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ